Now I'd like to welcome to the stage Naveen Jain, the founder of the World Innovation Institute. Naveen, come up on stage.
All right, so one of the good things is this is a social week, so I'm not going to do any PowerPoint. That means I'm going to engage you, I'm going to talk to you about what's on your mind, not what's on my mind. You want to find out what's in it for you. What can you do using social media? It's an amazing time today when we look at the world that how much of power has shifted from big corporations back to an individual. You look at yourself 20 years ago, if you had problem with American Express, all you could do was call their customer service. And if you were lucky, they might even pick up the phone, and you can bag them, you can do what you want, but it was between you and that customer service person. Today, you can tweet about it, you can blog about it, you can bring them to their knees, and they will do what you want them to do, not what they intended to do. The power of an individual has been collected together through a social media where now the control is back to where it belongs, which is to a consumer. With that power, as you can imagine, comes a tremendous amount of responsibility and obligation. What can you do with that power? Many of us have used that power if you look at Arab Spring, the people have used that power to throw the governments. People have used that power to make the changes in the corporations, in the governments. Anywhere you find people, you find they're using social media to make the change. If you continue to look at and saying, as an individual, what is it that I can do to make an impact? Because at the end of the day, it's about you. We all feel sometimes helpless. We feel helpless because we don't know as an individual what can we do. We see the problems. And we always say, why can't someone do something about it? We never look at our own responsibility and saying, why can't I do something about it? We all can go out there and go make that change. You look at the young generation today, they are using the social media effectively to do the social good. And I'm going to give you some personal examples. My daughter, who is just 17 years old, she started a thing called I Care, We Care. It's all about how to do a social good and make it social. How do we get the young kids of 14 to 18 years old trying to care about something? When they care about something, they can collect enough peers who all care about the same thing and go out in the community and make a difference. Now think about when a young person who is barely 16 years old can start to think about making a worldwide change because the tools available at their disposal. Imagine my older son who just turned 21, when he was 17 years old, he started an entrepreneurial organization called Kairos Society to bring all the college entrepreneurs. His dream was he wanted to make sure that entrepreneurs from around the world could come together and get the same help that he got because he was a son of an entrepreneur. I exposed him to all the things that he needed to learn about entrepreneurship. He wanted to provide the same type of things to other entrepreneurs who weren't that fortunate. So he started a nonprofit called Kairos Society. He was able, at 16 years old, to bring together all the college entrepreneurs from around the world, China, India, Middle East, Europe, all over the world, to come together to help themselves, to bring the mentors together. Now, that is a power of an individual. Imagine when 16 years old with very little at their disposal can go out and make a change in the society, can go out and impact and take care of a cause, then who are we to say when we see a problem, why can't someone do something about it? Why is it that we never look ourselves and go out and make a change? There is no change that's large enough that we can't impact. If you think about almost everything, every big problem, every grand challenge in the world, it can be solved simply by innovation and entrepreneurship. What do I mean by innovation and entrepreneurship? Anytime, just look at the definition of what an entrepreneur is. Entrepreneurship is not about starting a company. Entrepreneurship is simply a state of mind. What do I mean by state of mind? When you see a problem, and when you think of a solution, when you go out and execute on that, then you're an entrepreneur. When you see a problem, you are a human being. When you think of a solution, you are a visionary. When you go out and execute on that, you are an entrepreneur. So go out and be an entrepreneur. That's the power of you. That's the power of an individual. And we can all go out and make a difference in whatever we decide to do. When we go out there and look at the world and saying healthcare is a problem, the cost of healthcare is rising. There's 1 billion people around the world who have no healthcare. There are people in India who are dying because they can't be diagnosed with a disease. There are people in Africa who can't be diagnosed because there are no hospitals. And we all look at each other saying, we can't build enough hospitals. We can't train enough doctors. But you know what we can do? We can think innovatively. We can think entrepreneurially. Why can't we develop a software or sensors that can be used by simply a village girl to be able to diagnose the diseases better than a board-certified doctor? There is absolutely nothing with the advances in the technology in the microfluid. You could spit on a sensor, you could touch the sensor, and it will be able to use the software to diagnose the disease better than the most primary care physician. Now imagine if each one of us were to just simply collect just a $1 million challenge, and we challenge the world, an incentive pricing that brings people come together and saying, here is the problem, I'm going to focus on this problem, and here is a $1 million challenge. You're going to find the 2 guys in a garage, you're going to find the 3 guys in Ukraine who are going to say, I can do that. And you only pay when somebody solves your problem. That's the beauty of incentive pricing. And each one of us can go take up a cause. When Occupy Wall Street can raise money, you know anybody can raise money. It's not even a cause anybody should care about. Right? What is their demand? Their demand is corporations are criminals, shut them down. Do they even realize when the corporations shut down who's going to give them a job? Not that they need a job anyway. So my point is, when we think from innovative perspective, there is no problem large enough that we can't solve. You look at the problem around education. Each one of us sometime in our lives have said, our education system in our country is broken. Somebody should go out and fix it. Did we ever think about that we have the power to fix our education system? If you look at simply the way the education system works, it is not designed for the students, it's designed for the schools. Why can't we design our school system or our education that's simply based on neuroscience about how brain actually learns? So I spent last 2 years reading books, talking to every neuroscientist, trying to figure out how does brain process information? What is it about the brain that how we learn? And here's what I learned. The reading is one of the most inefficient way for brain to process information. Imagine that. And the reason is that our brain is a product of evolution. And when we were all living in the jungle, nowhere it ever says Tiger coming, run. Guess what? The brain never had to learn to read to survive. And the brain, the only purpose of the brain really is 2 things, survival and procreation. And that's what the brain is optimized for. Now, if you start to think about what brain is very good at, brain is extremely good at pattern matching. That means it's able to recognize the pattern when it sees the yellow color, even though it's behind the bush with dots, it knows it's time to run. When it sees a brown color with 4 legs, a nice cute thing, it says, it's my lunch. I need to go run after this one. Right? So brain is very good at pattern matching. Brain is extremely good at smell, the touch, the sensory perception. What if we are able to create an education system that's based on multi-sensory approach? Another good thing that brain has, brain is designed never ever to ignore motion. Think about that. Brain is hardwired never to ignore motion, because motion meant you have to act, because if you don't act, you could get killed. So you could ignore me while I'm standing here. Whatever all you can hear is blah, 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 blah. But if I move my hand, there is nothing you can do but to look at that, because the brain is hardwired never to ignore motion. Brain also has some very the natural chemicals that brain releases for certain purposes. So for example, brain has this thing, something called dopamine. And dopamine is designed for brain to encourage certain behavior. So if you go to a certain place and find the food, brain rewards you by releasing dopamine and saying, good boy, that's a good thing, I just got fed. The second time you go there, the brain rewards you. The third time, when you start walking towards that destination, the brain starts to release dopamine slowly. Good boy, keep walking. Good boy, keep walking. And it basically, the idea is for brain to encourage a certain behavior. It turns out that brain actually not only releases dopamine when you get the reward, brain actually releases the dopamine in anticipation of the reward. That means if you anticipate you're going to get the reward, the brain releases the dopamine. When you take action towards getting that reward, and when you believe you're making a progress towards that reward, the brain releases the second dose of dopamine. Now imagine that for education. If you apply that to education, that means the kids have to feel what they are doing is going to be rewarding. And when they take action and when they learn, they have to feel they're making progress towards that reward. And today in our education system, you try, at the end of 6 months you get the reward. The rewards needs to be much closer to action. Now think about what video games do. The video games have figured out a way for you to release a constant dopamine. I mean, look at the most game that's popular called the Zynga, the Farmville. It is actually not even an entertainment game. There is no entertainment there. It is simply a reward using the brain's reward system. It's constantly giving you the rewards for trying. Sometime whether you achieve the goal or sometime when you're trying, just click, 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 and brain is getting the dollars here, the gold here, the points here. And that's what the brain is designed for, is constant reward. Now, if we can apply that to the education system, we can have an addictive education system. You can create an education system that's based on the principles of neuroscience. Not only that's effective, but that's also addictive. So think about each one of these things. What if you were to go out and set an incentive pricing that says, here is $10 million. If somebody can go out and create a multi-sensory game system that will create an education that's effective as a private tutor and as addictive as a video game, now we can fundamentally change the education system. Think about, we have spent billions and billions of dollars around the world trying to cater to the education system, and we still have the broken education system. We have spent billions of dollars on our healthcare system, and we still have a broken healthcare system. And you can go on and saying there is a shortage of energy. We need to conserve. If you look at the people here, probably half of you believe in sustainability. And sustainability to you mean using less of the resources that we have on this planet. That to me is not the definition of sustainability. That's the definition of conservation. If you want sustainability, you have to spend just as much time and energy on creation as on conservation. There is absolutely nothing that stops us from creating more energy, because changing people's is very, very difficult. Changing people's habit is very difficult. Instead of asking them to conserve, let's all focus on creating more energy. There is more sun that falls on our planet, 100 times more energy that falls on this planet every day than we can ever use. Now, what if somebody could come up with a way to create a synthetic bacteria that could convert the salt water using the carbon dioxide and sun to actually create a fossil fuel? Imagine that. If you can create a synthetic bacteria using the salt water, 70% of our planet is salt water. If you can use a salt water, solar, and carbon dioxide to excrete the fossil fuel out that we can use in the cars, imagine that now we have solved the energy problem. There are many ways of solving every single problem we have. If you think there is a shortage of food and people want to eat beef, Why spend more fields raising cattle? Because raising cattle means what? You have to have more fields to feed the cattle. What if you are able to create a factory where simply it takes a stem cell of a cow and that stem cell is designed only to create the muscle tissue and nothing else, no eyes, no bones, nothing. And now you can have factories and factories of beef using exactly the same thing that nature does. And you never have to have a single cow in a cattle ranch. And what that means, all the field that are used for feeding cattle can now be used to feed the human being. Imagine that. Not only that, if there are no cows, there's so much little methane that's going to go out in the atmosphere that's depleting the ozone layer. So the message of what I'm trying to give you is that each one of us has that power to use the innovation and entrepreneurship to change the way we do things. The power of an individual is a power that very few of us realize. We always believe it is somebody else's problem. It is not my problem. And I want you to know that each one of us today, using the social media, has the same power that the corporations had before. The technology is exponentially growing. Today, you have more power on your cell phone than the President of the United States had 20 years ago. In fact, you have more power than the computers that were used to land people on the moon. You have more power in your pocket today than, think about the computers that were used to land people on the moon. Today, the technology has given you the tools that you need. The social media has given you the access that you need to be able to go out and make the change that you desire. So if one thing I could tell you would be, never ever look at the problem that you think you can't solve. Always think about, what is it that I can do, as opposed to conserving what can I do to create more of whatever that problem happens to be. And there is absolutely no problem that's large enough, that's big enough, that you and I together can't solve using innovation and entrepreneurship. At the end, I think I only have 3 minutes left here, and I wanted to show you a video that we didn't have a lot of budget here, so we took a lot of stock photos and put that thing together, and it's called Power of an Individual. And if somebody can cue that up and put the video up for Power of an Individual, maybe I can sum it up right after that.
We all have so much to give. Infinite many dreams, these all need to live. Sam, the very leader to change the world, the powers inside of you. And living in these changing times, it's like our world is out of control with our lives. In your heart, you feel a bit of faith. Make your impact, it's never too late. The power's inside of me, inside of you. All the power of I, the power's inside of me, oh, inside of you. All the power of I, inside us all will be standing tall. Doctor, lie blind aside, just a feeling but so right. You are so strong, each and every one. So take your shot, feel your life with the power of I. We all have such a presence inside, such a power that just can't hide. We all have such a presence inside, such a power that just can't hide. The power's inside of me, inside of you. All the power of I, the power's inside of me, oh, inside of you.
So as you can see, that each one of us are in our heart have that power. We all came from stars, and there is a star in each one of us. Go out there and show that light and let the world know what is your power, what's your star power, and be a star, be a hero Thank you very much.